Actually, I'm very happy and honored to be with you. I have not prepared a presentation to make things short and concise. What I'm going to make a comment is on first Freedom Index of Heritage has developed, and then our relations with these two important partner countries. And I will talk about the contrast between South and North Korea in brief. This is long, but I will make my short as possible. First, I think freedom is, there is no doubt that economic freedom should be the basic, very base of whatever economic political development. As Anthony showed, that there is a big contrast between how developed and prosper between South and North Korea. You saw the map. I personally visited many times North Korea to negotiate and implement a nuclear power plant project in return for their foregoing nuclear programs. As you see, the North Korea has all scrapped the agreements, and then project has had to stop. I opened the negotiation, but I had to withdraw all the personnel and equipment from North Korea at the last day of Kido. So I had my personal experience in engaging with the North Koreans. On the one hand, they are competitors of Korean. We feel the same feeling. I could feel that. At the same time, they are living in a completely different world. There is no logic similar to, in terms of practicability and in terms of understanding economic and business logic and what we could say, the very basic principle of how to make put the money and make a return. That kind of economic sense didn't exist at all. So it was a kind of a miserable experience, at the same time very precious opportunities for me to understand how different world we are living in. You know what North Koreans are doing now is killing the brother in Malaysia with the VX intoxicating agent, and then continuing missile development and nuclear weapons. But the life is miserable. I think that the big difference between the South and North is the freedom. There is no doubt. And also the governance in general. The governance includes a lot of things, but governance is the, after or under the economic freedom, governance comes to first. A third one is that Korea could take advantage of its external environment with relations with the US, Japan, and other world. We could trade, we could import, we could develop this, and then we could go into other areas cooperation. So South Korea could take advantage of this open economy and international relations, but North couldn't. Anyway, I will talk a little bit about how South and North Korea could produce synergetic impact afterward. In general, if I go back to the economic index, freedom index, which Heritage developed, I would like to ask Heritage fellows and then Dr. Kim, see if just government size can be varied, kind of giving numbers on each countries can be varied depending on their social security liabilities. Like Philippines, they have a huge liabilities in fighting or in calming down the insurgency and different morals, terrorism, extremism. And Paraguay had to fight with internal problems. Colombia had to fight the drug insurgency, and there are a lot of African countries who should engage in fighting ever and ever with the insurgents and extremist or terrorism. While South Korea has a big military security burden coming from the north. So government size can be varied, depending on this inherent burden of their nature. So I would like to see if this can be counted again. This is technical. But more important is that besides economic freedom, we have new challenges. We must keep on the principle of economic freedom and creativity, entrepreneurship, and personal accountability. But at the same time, we are facing new challenges. Almost every country is facing similar problem. One is increasing income gap between the top and median and lower class. If you lose median and middle class, sustainability cannot be achieved. So we must put more focus on how to lift up the revenue of a median and lower class so that economic growth can be more sustainable and more healthy. This is one thing that now UN and global society calls it inclusiveness, right? So this inclusiveness must be added in our pursuit of economic freedom. Second one is the preparedness for the fourth revolution. As he showed that, thanks to globalization, poverty in general on the world have been lot improved. Half of the world population could benefit from the increase of revenue, and extreme poverty has reduced, and that hunger has been diminished. But is digitalization and global economy brought some reversal effect in many countries, even in the US. Now the new administration stress a lot of anti-globalism and going to more protectionist policies, which creates a lot of controversy and fears from within the US and outside the US. So every country has similar problem. We must be smart enough to make a balance between open economic globalization and internal handling with the internal problem. Second one is fourth revolution would bring big opportunities for new entrepreneurship, creativity, and jobs, and whatever we cannot imagine how big it would be. But at the same time, the fear is valid because underskilled labor, underskilled people would be lagging behind. So there is a very viable concern that how we can prepare fourth revolution. We must educate people and train people for fourth revolution. But if people are not included in this preparedness, they are not capable of following the higher technical development, what we should do with this population. So my suggestion here is to continue to stress the very basic principle and value of economic freedom, but at the same time we must think about the inclusiveness, which will be needed more and more as we go into era of a fourth revolution. If I go back to Korean question, South Korea itself has a lot of problems. People always tell Koreans and then told me, because when I was in charge of economic development or cooperation, the Korea is a shining success of development. I always tell my friends that you must not learn from Korea failures and weakness and bad practices. You must learn from Korea only good things, because Korea has recorded all good and bad things. Korea also has a lot of problems. Unemployment, particularly for young people, new generation frustration, their diminished trust in the system, their diminished trust in the community, the fast aging society in the world, a country whose birth rate is lowest in the world, highest in divorce. This is a huge problem for South Korea. So you must learn from South Korea only good things. You must skip and avoid bad experience. Why South Korea is facing this problem, which is still similar to other countries' problem, but faster and deeper in size, in the speed. Because Korea has developed so fast, and problem is coming out faster than others. So we must think very articulately and thoroughly about the problem. But in the conclusion, I think I must agree with all colleagues that economic freedom, entrepreneurship, engagement, and accountability should be the principle of our whatever business and governance and economic development and cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.